Very good evening to all of you. It's a great honor to have amongst us to receive the award on behalf of the President of Seychelles, my friend, the Foreign Minister of Seychelles, Jean-Paul Adam. And if you don't know, ideal Foreign Minister, Olympian swimmer. So when we worry about the impact of climate change on island nations, it's good to have a foreign minister who's a strong swimmer, can show the way. I've always said to him that we need strong swimmers in the Indian Ocean, and that's the way we can meet in the middle of the ocean, away from the clamor of the rest of the world. My colleague, Dr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, and curiously both of us here described for whatever qualities, but we are both from the same university, which in a sense makes us think alike by training. Dr. Rajagopalan, Secretary Environment, and most of all Dr. Pachauri, Director General of the Energy Research Institute, who is very persuasive, brings me back here year after year. And unfortunately, I wasn't here on the first day, which is when he wanted me to be here, but I'm back, and I'm very pleased that I can be here to endorse what is indeed a very remarkable gathering, annual gathering for the Sustainable Development Summit, DSDC, which has become now a landmark of Delhi. I'm not sure if it takes place about the same time every year as Davos, but I think that there is a very important dimension of economic growth, development, and the future of mankind. Not everything is decided in Davos. A lot is decided there, but a great deal is decided here in Delhi. And that is largely due to the efforts and the ability to reach out to the world of Dr. Pachauri. I congratulate him for this opportunity. We stand here today as having put behind us the year 2012, which was, amongst other things, there were anxieties that 2012 caused us, anxieties that have spilled over into 2013, but I hope that we will be able to put those behind as well. But 2012 was an important year from the point of view of sustainable development. We celebrated the 20th anniversary, and you did all of the landmark Earth Summit in Rio in June last year. And we adopted the comprehensive and significant document, The Future We Want. And if I might borrow more recent articulation of the parallel aspiration of the change that we want, and think of what Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want the world to get. Similarly, I would imagine we here in the Sustainable Development Summit can say, let us be the future that we want. Later this last year, we were privileged to host the Conference of Parties of the Convention on Biodiversity in Hyderabad, over which we had the privilege to preside. It was a matter of tremendous satisfaction that the conference agreed on double finances for biodiversity. This is significant because we know that the world is focusing, and rightly so, on the its energies on climate change, and sometimes this can come at the cost of other equally and critical, important dimensions of environmental and sustainable development issues. The fact that we will have, hopefully, more finances for this commitment to biodiversity, I believe we would place us in a more rational and comfortable position to deal with the entire range of issues. We've also concluded in December 2012 the successful COP on climate change in Doha, and therefore when we look back many years from now, 2012 may well be remembered by our successors in humanity, may be looked upon as the very, very important landmark, a foundation of sustainable development of the world. Now, Rio plus 20, as we all recall, put the poverty eradication as the center of global sustainable development agenda. Freedom from want, hunger, we consider, and they remain the best antidotes to social inequality, environmental degradation. And it's also the path, as well as the direct beneficiary of resource-efficient growth and development, which is the theme of this conference, and to which we in India, and I'm sure Dr. Mantek Singh Ahluwalia will share more of his thoughts on this with us, we in India remain committed. Our major effort, for instance, in the field of innovation is to find that we continue the impetus for growth, for expansion of our footprint of growth, but to do it in a manner that adds greater resource efficiency, both of natural resources and of finances. And in this context, if I might meaningfully recall the words of our late Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi, who at the Stockholm Conference in 1972, and you can see how her vocabulary then was a prescience. It's looking way ahead to the concerns that we are articulating in our times. And when she observed with great perceptiveness, I quote, "Poverty is the biggest polluter," unquote. Of course, in India, we have had a tremendously valuable and important relationship between all living beings and nature. And much of our literature, much of our mythology, much of our Indian philosophy is rooted in our relationship with nature. In a sense, modern environmental movements are a rediscovery of that unique relationship. And we, of course, have not ever perceived the duality between development and resource-efficient growth. The earth, as a giver of life, is also the source of happiness. And we, the progeny of that Mother Earth, have the responsibility to look after it, also have an altruistic, enlightened duty, as it were, to look after it so that it can sustain us in future times and sustain our generations, what we also often refer as justice between generations. So it's the holistic, sustainable development in its march towards economic growth and development that we are here to underscore, to highlight, and to commit ourselves to. We here in India were looking at solving many of the problems that we inherited in our generation. And of course, we inherited also the wherewithal and enormous capacity building and institutional building that our predecessors and our forefathers handed over, foremothers handed over to us to face challenges that in many other parts of the world, in one way or the other, remain challenges. And in some parts of the world, there was a sense that we had overcome some of those challenges. And this, of course, now comes with an amplification of shrinking opportunities in the area of food security, water and livelihood security. And I'm not going to be alarmist and say there will be wars on water in the future, but certainly great sense of urgency posed by the concerns about water. The expansion of unplanned urban growth and mass migrations is a major, major issue for us in our country. And many of the good things that we thought we were going to be able to do, particularly with the concept of planned growth of economy that Dr. Monte Singh Ahluwalia provides under in the Planning Commission, was outstripped by aspirations and indeed impressions of opportunities that caused these mass migrations to take place. And therefore, the growing inequalities coupled with depleting natural resources, land degradation, and of course the attraction of unsustainable consumption patterns and lifestyles, more common with the developed world, but that became for us in a free society attractive burdens on the very, very foundations of our society. Then, of course, finally, there remains the concern of access to energy, and energy that's both in terms of its supply within the reasonable reach of the reasonable at a reasonable cost and reachable for everyone and accessible to everyone, but again, energy that should come without depleting our natural resources beyond what I believe that in our generation we are entitled to consume. And if this was not enough of a challenge, has come the slowdown in global economy, making things that much worse. Means of implementation for developing countries, therefore, are drying up. Our ability to provide safety nets to vulnerable sections of our society has been under stress, and therefore gaps are threatening to widen. But we have ensured that at least up to this point, our commitments to the social sector, whether it's health, housing, employment and employability, as indeed education, are not affected. Today, I believe we have the greatest model, the best model and the largest commitment on free education, on health services, particularly those below the poverty line. And then very soon, by the time you're here next year, there will be a full-fledged food security system under new legislation that Parliament will endorse very, very soon, giving 65% of our population in our country nourished food, high nourishment food, but at a very low cost. And that, I believe, will be a changing moment, a defining moment for our democracy. And as we continue to grapple with these multiple issues and the multiple challenges that face us internationally, we are, as you're all familiar, engaged in charting out the post-2015 development agenda. Discussions are taking place in the different UN and other fora, is evolving the architecture that will accommodate the ongoing implementation of MDGs, where we've made progress towards targets, but unfortunately, with the 3 years left, we may not exactly reach where we want to reach, but I think the foundations that have been laid for meeting our targets are very strong. And this is, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals, which were set out in Rio Plus 20, and then forge an acceptable post-2015 development framework, which all countries can subscribe to. We will view, and we do view this as an important development, and our government has already put in place a process to take a clear stand on these various issues that would inevitably be dealt as part of the building of the architecture. Naturally, the emphasis on the word development, where national policy space and priorities are preserved, while focusing on economic growth, social protection, and environmental preservation will remain a salient feature. We want to emphasize that the rubric will apply to both developed and developing countries, unlike the MDGs, and therefore clearly that it should not become a mere governance agenda, but address sustainable development issues in a holistic manner. Governance is important, but the other dimensions of sustainable growth are equally important. In this pursuit, we need to be respectful of the Rio principles, reaffirmed in Rio +20 last year, as well as the UNGA-mandated intergovernmental process about to start in a few days in New York. Distinguished participants, even as we seek to forge a post-2015 development agenda and chart ways through to resource-efficient growth and development, it is natural that there is increased expectation of enhanced means of implementation amongst developing countries. And I think that this is, for our generation, globally, this is the big moral and political challenge. New and additional financing, especially of public finance, as a catalyst for private investment is more than just a cliche for those who are struggling with day-to-day existence, particularly in the least developed countries and the small island developing states that remain at the core of our concern. So technology transfer is the key, and only this can solve many challenges. Our efforts should not just be to divert domestic funding of such countries. It should ensure genuine partnership between developed and developing countries for meaningful cooperation and transfer of environmentally friendly technology, promoting innovation and in financing of sustainable development activities. And obviously a two-way process. It's not a technology transfer. India doesn't believe in seeking technology transfer, which is a one-way street. We hope that we too will be in a position to offer technology ideas, innovative technology ideas to the world, as indeed we expect the smaller nations to do. Sometimes you can do something in a smaller laboratory, in a controlled laboratory that you might not be able to do in a larger marketplace. Sustainable development is a process which should involve civil society, private sector, local governments, and all stakeholders. And we say this conscious of how difficult it is to engage everybody and get everyone to participate and then to harmonize what can be conflicting positions pulling in different directions. But it is important. This is not for reasons only of morality, but we believe for reasons of political adherence and philosophical adherence to the concept of the world as a family, that we take at every level participation and strengthen the hands of every partner through forging these strong partnerships. While we may agree or disagree on issues or argue on how and why of things, it's important that we do not let short-term difficulties and interests act as a red herring to achieve our more important objectives, that which may alter fundamentally how we live on this planet. We need to accommodate each other's views and approaches, but as Mahatma Gandhi said, I quote, "All compromise is based on give and take, but there can be no give and take on fundamentals." And I think this is really the path to finding our destinations. Before I conclude, allow me to thank the organizers once again for giving me this opportunity to share a few thoughts on issues of importance facing the world today as we seek a sustainable existence. And once again, Foreign Minister, my warmest greetings, congratulations to the President, and I hope your country recovers quickly from floods. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.